Okay, so according to the period one, the original 191 Pokemon index where Rhydon was the very first Pokemon, if you actually look at it carefully, a Voltorb was actually the very first Pokemon, the first electric Pokemon that was ever created. I think it was index number 6. Then Omega was 21. Electabuzz is somewhere in period 2. And then Zapdos was in period 2. And then Pikachu and Raichu were introduced. I think there were numbers 86 or 76 index numbers. I gotta double check that. But there were 4 Pokemon that were before Pikachu in the original index numbers. However, though, Pikachu was the mascot at the time. So this is why we have what we do now. And they rearranged all the index numbers when they whittled it down to 151 and then chose the Pokemon they wanted to keep. And moved those index numbers around as placeholders. And I do believe that's why, once the cartridge limitations, they wanted to gather up what they had, organize it, and then that's why we had what we did. Like Bulbasaur was the very first starter, although it wasn't the first Pokemon drawn. Rhydon was, and it's just interesting how much we really didn't see until we had more information to go back on. So Voltorb being the very first electric Pokemon, Electrode wouldn't exist until, I'm trying to remember when Electrode was introduced. It still would have been there by the end of the game, so it wasn't like they just created it. Like, it was kind of one of the later Pokemon, but Voltorb was still what it was, a ball that looked like a Pokeball. Would blow up if intimidated or antagonized, both. And Electrode was just rolling around. If you remember Pokemon Stadium, how Electrode would just roll around in order to get by. That's funny. But same thing though with Voltorb. Voltorb would, obviously having no legs, no arms, had to roll around to get around, or it would fly or jump. But yeah, an electric Pokemon that was definitely considered way before Pikachu, before Zapdos, Electabuzz, and just before Omega, which again, Mechagodzilla, which was scrapped for Mew and Blastoise, and they moved the things around. Scrapped a few more Pokemon, didn't need their evolutionary lines, but it's just, if you're wondering where that came from, I do believe Omega would have came from the Mechagodzilla family, but it would have been given to you from the Silph Co. It would have been a robot built by the Silph Co. The Silph Co. was supposed to be the last city you went to. Technically, it's possible you might have been through more than once, but who knows? Sabrina was supposed to be the last gym leader, but from what we understand, she's the 6th. And if there was a 9th gym leader, who that would have been, what gym that would have been, we don't know. So we're still trying to figure out a lot of stuff, but we kind of do have an understanding that maybe it would have had something to do with that lost city that was just south of Celadon City. But how you would have got there is another story, though.